Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Vanessa and I am an author from Toronto, Canada, and I publish under the pen name A and Sage. I write a lot of mystery, a lot of fantasy, a bunch of paranormal, pretty much anything with magic and murder. And on this channel, I like to discuss all my tips and tricks and things that I've learned along the way, having published 23 books and counting, both as an indie and a traditionally published author. And today is a very exciting video. At least it is for me. It's one of the more exciting videos that I've been looking forward to for a while now, because today we are celebrating the release of, here so you can see it better. This is Double Long Murder, and this is the last book in my Orchard Hollow series. The full series is here. The full series is also here. I have my signing banner set up, but because of the way the screen is cropped, you can't see it all. It just says like Orchard Hollow Paranormal Cozy Mystery Series here. But on the bottom is a picture of Harry Houdini, who is our token model for all the covers. So we've got the raccoon on all of the covers because he is pretty much one of the leads, I guess I would say. He even has his own POV in some of the books. But this is the last book, and it just came out today. So I really wanted to hop on here. I will be doing a giveaway at the end of this video. There is also this housekeeping right now. There's also 2 other giveaways happening. So there's a giveaway if you are on my newsletter. So if you're on my newsletter, you would have received it this morning to celebrate the release, to tell you how you can get the book, and also how you can participate in being put into the giveaway. And there's another one that's happening in my Facebook group, Sages in a Circle. So if you are in any of those places too, then you get extra chances to win as well as when you finish watching this video. Now, you will have to forgive me because, as per true Inessa fashion, I have managed to get like the flu of a lifetime literally a day before this release. And so when I'm filming this, I am trying to battle a whole bunch of coughing fits. So if you see this video get like clipped sometimes and then like it starts over, like editing wise, I want to do a full run through and I'm aiming for that. But if you see those little editing skips, it's because I have had to go off camera to cough up a lung. But I will not let it stop me from celebrating, because this is such an amazing day. 6 books, you guys, 6 books in this series. When I first wrote A Grave Roast, which is the first book in the series, I have it here actually. Let's see. So when I first wrote A Grave Roast, the first book in the series, I was aiming to do 3. As I'm sure you can imagine, like I do with pretty much all of my series, I always aim for a trilogy. And it was supposed to be a trilogy, and it was signed with my publisher to be a trilogy. And then because it was doing so well, that we decided to extend it to a 6-book series. And there are some other surprises along the way for this world, which I can't talk about now, because now we're just celebrating this baby here, the final book. And I can't believe it. So people say, like, when you hold a book in your hand, when you write it, the first time you hold a book in your hand, it becomes really like real, that you've done this whole thing. And for me, sorry, I have my ghost, so I have to keep hydrated because I'm coughing, but this is like a little ghostly, cup thing. I got it because my daughter is definitely my child. She is 2.5 and she's obsessed with Halloween and ghosts and witches and vampires and all of that good stuff. And so I got this because she really likes seeing all the ghosts and stuff. And so I had to theme it for her. And it's a jungle here, I realize, but welcome to my life. But for me, when I got to hold this book, this final book, and to see the entire series on my shelf, that's when it just really hit me that I've created this entire world and mysteries. There's mysteries in every single one of these books. And I'm so proud of them because there's always twists and things that I come up with that readers have really loved. And obviously Harry Houdini and the relationships between Piper, who's the lead, and her sidekick, who is her familiar, who is also a ghost. It's just the character development between the 3 of them and the entire community of Orchard Hollow have been so absolutely wonderful to create. And I love that you guys also love these people I've created. Well, people and a raccoon. But I wanted to kind of do the celebration in a fun way where I figured we could talk about, just to make it relevant to this channel and the authors that watch this channel, we could talk about like what it's like to bring a series to a close, especially a series where you have a bunch of standalones, because these can be read as standalone, that also have a unifying element throughout, and how I did that. Just to give you ideas if you're looking for ideas on how to do it. So when I mentioned before, Grave Roast and the series itself was supposed to be a trilogy. And so I planned for 3 completely standalone mysteries just to see how they do. Prior to this, I have written YA mysteries, dark mysteries, and urban fantasy mysteries. But I've never written a cozy mystery for adults. And so I did not know how well I would do in the world and how much I would love it. And spoiler alert, I'm obsessed with it. And it's probably what I'm going to be doing for a very long time. So I didn't know how that was going to go. I had an idea developed in my head. So we'll also talk about the series, obviously, if you haven't read it. But I had an idea in my head. And the idea for this book, for this whole, not for this book, for the Orchard Hollow series, actually didn't come from the lead. So a lot of times people say that they get an idea for a lead, and that's how they develop their story. The idea for this series actually came from the sidekick, from the ghost familiar, Stella Rutherford. And Stella Rutherford is the ghost of a older middle age, so she's in her mid-50s, very rich lady. And she's very snooty. And Piper, our witch, is very down to earth and just a regular person who is struggling to figure out her magic, because she comes from a family of very powerful witches, but she unfortunately cannot do magic for the life of her. She's very clumsy. Things always go wrong. Things tend to blow up. And so Piper and Stella have this very different dynamic in their relationships, where they come from very, very different worlds. But because they're tied to each other, Stella being Piper's familiar, because of course Piper had to have a strange familiar and not a cat or an owl or something like what everybody else gets, you know. So Stella is her familiar, and they're tied together and they're forced to be together, and they kind of develop this very familial kind of friendship throughout. And Harry Houdini is a raccoon that basically lives outside of Piper's brand new cafe that she's opened in the alleyway, and he has a way of sneaking into places and disappearing after he has stolen some snacks, thus his name, Harry Houdini. So that's how this came about. And it came about from Stella, because I just had this image of a snobby ghost, snobby rich woman who has died and is now tied to somebody else and constantly criticizing everything they do, how they dress, how they behave, how they sneeze, like all this stuff. I don't know why, but I just felt like it would be so comical to see that. And it all came out because me and my husband were watching The Real Housewives. We were obsessed with that show for a while, and we were watching it, and they were getting into their really overly dramatic, like super unrealistic kind of like arguments that they have. And I think it was I was watching this and I was like, oh my God, imagine like being a part of that, like for the rest of your life, every single day. And my husband goes, imagine for all of eternity. And so I was like, huh. And it made me think of Stella, and I definitely picture Stella as being a Real Housewife, because I think that's exactly, like, I feel like if she had been around for the filming of The Real Housewives, then she definitely would have been on it, because that's just to give you an idea of her personality. She's dramatic, she's over the top, she's hoity-toity, but she is also very, very caring and very kind, even though she would never admit it. And so the juxtaposition of the two really had me interested. And then the other thing that got this story into my head, again, not Piper, because I kind of already knew who Piper was going to be. She's a sleuth, and sleuths a lot of times in these types of stories, they have a lot of character depth, and Piper has a lot of character depth, but I feel like the mystery always kind of takes front center stage. And so the mystery was the other thing that came about. And I just pictured having a cafe and run by a witch, somebody who could see ghosts, because Piper can, unlike other witches. So something interesting about her. But having her cafe that she works at be across the street from a haunted hotel, and the hotel pretends to be haunted to get people in, but it's not actually haunted, and Piper really knows that, because obviously she can see ghosts and there's no ghosts there. So for some reason that really appealed to me as well. And so that is the first book. So Grave Rose takes place. The murder is of a warlock. So Orchard Hollow does have paranormals. It runs along ley lines, and so there's a lot of paranormals living in Orchard Hollow. They're kind of under the radar. It's very secret. They hide themselves from humans. Everybody has family talismans. So if you're the firstborn, you usually have a family talisman, and all the family's magic is in it. And so it amplifies your magic if you're lucky enough to get it. And so there is really no way for other paranormals to know who is a paranormal and who is human, unless they see this talisman that they know about. They, if you're somebody like magic, like Piper, who, slight spoiler alert, can sense magic of other paranormals for some reason. I won't say why, because we find out a lot more in this book. So there's like a lot of paranormals there. And so the first book takes place where, if you haven't read it, I apologize, skip ahead. But a warlock that works as a tour guide in this so-called haunted hotel gets murdered in the alleyway behind Piper's cafe. And this all happens in the first 3 chapters, so I'm not spoiling too much. And Harry Houdini, the raccoon, actually finds it. And then obviously Piper finds it immediately after. And so because it happens near her place of business needs to be shut down for the investigation, and she also becomes a lead suspect. And so that is her motive, to kind of get involved and clear her name. And also, like, her grand just died, her mom has disappeared, like, just not disappeared, but she is out of her life, and she left her to go join a coven that deals with black magic. And so Piper and her are on the outs, and her grandmother just died and left her this farmhouse that she lives in. And so for the first time in her life, Piper actually has her shit together. And so sorry if you can hear planes going overboard. I'm filming this on Labor Day, so we've got celebrations right outside our house. But so Piper finally has her shit together, and so she really wants to make this work because, well, she needs to survive somehow. She needs money, and so there's nobody else to help her. She's all on her own, unless you count Stella Rutherford, who you don't, because she's a ghost and can't help her in a financial way. So that is how the story started. It's how it started in my head. It's what really put the spark of the series in my head, or at least the first book. And then from there, I just started adding books and stories. So we had the first one, then the second one. There was the murder of somebody else. I'm not gonna, you know what, I won't spoil who they are if you haven't read them, or if you're reading them out of order. But there's all these different murders that happen in every single story. But the underlying mystery of it all is, why is Piper's magic not working? Why can she see ghosts? Why is her familiar a ghost? And why is she so different from the other witches in Orchard Hollow and some of the covens that she knows? So there's obviously something kind of different about her, and we need to find out why. And as we progress through the series, we find out more and more and more. And the final book, Double Long Murder, is when this entire thing basically comes to like a full halt. So we saw there is other things that are happening here. There's another murder and all that fun stuff. But the main mystery that we kind of wrap up and finish through here is this underlying current of Piper's background, I should say. And what's going on there. And it's kind of more in like more epic proportions. So I really like this. Also in this, there is a romance. So in the first book, we get into a possible romance situation. And then it kind of develops throughout for Vampire and Joe Brooks, who is the new owner of Brooks Books, a bookshop a few doors down from Piper's Cafe. Again, I won't say too much if you haven't read it, but what a way. That is kind of how the series started. And the reason that I wanted to wrap it up, I always knew that no matter how many books this was going to get, like I didn't know if it was going to have 3 or the 6 that it has, or like 20, you know, but I always knew that the final book in the series would always be somehow related to Piper's magic and that's why I planted clues for this underlying mystery starting from book 1, because I always knew that from the beginning. So one piece of advice, if you are writing a mystery series where everything is a standalone, if you want to somehow tie the series together, start thinking about that before you write the first book, because you want to start throwing those clues in. And as I was writing this, I was actually going back to books 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and pulling out little tidbits and Easter eggs and putting them into this book, because I think it will be really interesting for people who have read the series start to finish in the order that they come with. So that's the book, and this is all of them. So we got book 1, you can see here, that's Grey Rose. Then we got Cafe au Slay. And I will say, so because I get to design all my own covers, because that was one of the agreements that came with my publishers, I love design, and so I'm going to design my own covers, and they're totally on board with that. But I put the smallest hints in every single book cover about the clues in the book. So some of like the murders and how they happen, and like some of the things you might expect throughout the book, every single cover had it in it. And so I think it's really fun if you have the covers to look at them and try to solve, or not to solve, but try to figure out like what the little clues are. So we got Cafe au Slay, which is book 2. So you'll see there's like a typewriter and there's letters and a fountain pen and like, there's like a poison jar. There's like all this stuff happening. There's a lighthouse in the back. There's a magic crystal ball. Oh, coughing fit. So that these are all relevant to that book. We got Killing Grinds, which is kind of harder to see here because it's a bit off frame. But Killing Grinds actually has a lot to do with what happened to Stella Rutherford. So I didn't solve it. You would think that I would do it in number 2, but I kind of wanted to stretch it out because I wanted to develop the relationship between Piper and Stella. And at this point, when I got to this book, which that was when we already signed for the rest of the series. And so I got to really experiment more and push the envelope of where I wanted Stella's murder to get solved, because she has ghost amnesia. And so she doesn't know what happened to her. And so it's in Killing Grinds that we get to solve her murder. And so you'll see like there's pearls, there's like a tennis, so Stella died in her tennis outfit. There's like poker chips and cards. There's like so much stuff, fun stuff here. And then we've got book 4, which is, it's probably completely off. Let me pull this in. So we've got book 4, which is Devil in the French Press. And in this book, we have a fun appearance from Piper's mother, who comes back into town. And so we try to live with Piper through that kind of broken relationship and see if it can be mended. But there's also so much more comedy in this one because of who Piper's mom is. And how she is. Let's just say that. Okay, so we'll put that here, back here. Then we go into 6 Brews Under, which is the one that came right before Double Long Murder, and Piper and Joe, her now boyfriend, from Brooks Books, Joe Brooks. They get to go on vacation, and of course, while on vacation, we have to drop a body. So that's what happens in 6 Brews Under. And then we've got Double Long Murder. So on the cover of Double Long Murder, we've got the witch head for Piper. I kind of tried to bring like a whole bunch of stuff together. We got the coffee beans, obviously, because she owns a cafe. We've got this like journal. There's a map. There's keys that become important. There are these gems that are everywhere, and I won't say what they are. We've got a mining field kind of behind there, like a moon. So like once you read the book, all of that starts coming together. And this is kind of, I guess, like I can do a quick surprise thing because it's already listed, but I'm not talking about it until next week. But just for you guys here, I'm not going to zoom in because I don't want you to see too much, but if you can see, we've got some holly and some holiday and Christmas and gifts coming out because, and the name Mistletoe, Mocha, and Murder, because Orchard Hollow is getting a Christmas novella. That's right. So I'm not going to say any more because I will put it in the community listing once I have like all the final links and everything and up, but you're going to see that next week because yes, we are getting a Christmas novella and I am just so excited about this one. It is really fun. I've already written it. So it's just, I'm obsessed with it. So that's one of the big news. But I'm not saying it anywhere else but here. So for our ears only. And so I wanted to finish before we get into the giveaway with a big cough. But I also wanted to read one of the excerpts from the book. I'll read one of the very short chapters here. So like I mentioned, in every single book, I have somebody else's POV. A lot of the times, Harry Houdini, the raccoon, gets his own POV. He does have a POV here, but that excerpt was given away as a special excerpt to a online journal, which I'll link below. I'm getting a little nasally too. Sorry about that, you guys. But I can't read that anywhere else, basically, and I can't post it anywhere else. But there's another POV in this one that's really interesting. So sometimes it's Harry Houdini, and sometimes, like in Killing Grinds, it was Stella Rutherford because it was her murder. In Devil in the French Press, it was Piper's mom. In Six Brews Under, it was Joe. And so everybody kind of has a chance to have a POV. And Devil in the French Press also had Harry Houdini's POV, I believe. So that one also had 2. And now we have 2 again. And in chapter 10 of this book of Double Long Murder, we have the POV of Celia Craven. Celia Craven, we introduced her in the first book, and she is a member of a coven, and she is in a coven that is led by Piper's arch nemesis from high school. But as we can start kind of seeing throughout the books, that Celia and Piper actually become very good friends. And so this is a POV from Celia Craven in chapter 10. And it's a shorter chapter, and I'll read fast. I left Piper to her online stalking under the guise of forgetting important paperwork in the hotel. She was so busy switching between the million tabs she had opened to even notice me gone, which suited me just fine right now. The less red flags I raised, the better. Shutting the cafe door behind me, I glanced across the street. The Rose Hollow Hotel, silhouetted against the setting sun, cast dark, ominous shadows on the pavement, reaching almost as far as my feet. Fitting for a hotel that prided itself on false hauntings and ghost stories. Despite my best efforts after taking over the place, I was yet to get rid of the hotel's past. Though if I was being honest, I wasn't in too much of a hurry to do it. Ghosts kept the rooms booked. A family with 3 young children pushed their giant suitcases through the white front doors. I watched silently as one of our most recent hires, Joshua, hurried outside to help them, a smile on my face. The place ran itself for the most part now, leaving me plenty of time to plan for the future. Unlike Isabella, I had big ideas for a little slice of Orchard Hollow, ones I hadn't shared with anyone yet, all in due time. Taking a peek at Piper through the cafe's window, deep at work, I stepped out of sight and got lost in the evening bustle of Cliff Row. Around me, voices mixed together and signs changed as business owners closed up for the day. I watched Sunny exchange heated words with Ray and couldn't help but laugh. Things were never boring in our little town. When I was certain Piper couldn't see me or overhear the conversation, I slid my phone out of my coat and dialed. The line rang 3 times before a familiar voice answered. Go for Nancy. Hi, Nancy, I said, my voice hushed. Celia Craven here. The witch mumbled to someone on her end, and the sound of loud footsteps echoed in my ear. A moment later, she said, Hi, Celia. Sorry about that. I'm wrapping up at the salon. No matter what people said about Nancy Steele, the woman did hair like it was nobody's business. She was solely responsible for the bob I had been sporting for years. I wouldn't trust anyone else within an inch of my locks. I knew Nancy wasn't without her faults. No one in our town. No one was in our town. And she could be downright vindictive when it came to Piper, but man, hair was her thing. I twirled a strand around my finger, checking behind me to make sure Piper didn't decide to follow me out. No problem, I said. I won't keep you long. Is everything all right? Is this about coven business? Nancy's voice lowered a few octaves when she mentioned our coven. The witch was often fairly vocal about magic, but her carefulness told me she wasn't alone and likely surrounded by humans. Choosing not to put her on the spot any further, I sucked in a breath and got down to business. It is somewhat about the coven and about the message I sent earlier. The one about the map guy and his ex? Nancy asked, clearly confused. That's the one, I replied. Look, I don't want you to worry, but the coven might be in for a fight in the near future. I wanted to call and give you a heads up so you can get the girls ready. I was met with complete silence that lasted for what seemed like forever. If I knew Nancy Steele, she was either trying to make sense of what I said before, or already texting everyone and their mother to spread the news. I was really hoping it was the former. After a few more breaths, Nancy said, What's going on, Celia? Are we in danger? I'm not yet sure, I answered truthfully. There are things happening that I can't speak to yet. It isn't my place. But if it comes down to it, I need to know that the coven will have my back. It is important. Another brief moment of silence had me panicking. I very rarely lost my cool, but for some reason, the interaction with our coven's head witch had me going. One thing I had complete faith in was that I very rarely asked anyone for help, and Nancy had to know that if I did, it was for good reason. Luckily, I wasn't wrong. Of course you can count on us, the witch said. We're basically family, Celia. You know the girls will be there for whatever you need. A smile tugged at my lips. Thank you, Nancy. I won't keep you longer, but be ready. If I call again, it's go time. So dramatic, Nancy replied with a high-pitched, nasally laugh. But you got it. Talk soon and stay safe. See you in the next ritual. Satisfied, I hung up the phone, tightened the belt on my coat, and made my way back to beam me up. Rory should be done soon, and I didn't want her to wait any longer to get picked up. Her mother would murder me if I made the kids stay out late practicing magic when she should have been at home with her family. Not that I couldn't take my sister-in-law on. I scoffed at the thought, but sped up regardless. No point starting a fight over nothing, not when there are real battles to be won. As I neared the cafe, I noticed Piper was exactly where I left her. Her shoulders hiked up so high they were grazing the bottom of her ears. My poor friend was in over her head. I hated that she was tasked with such a massive responsibility. Being a paranormal was hard enough. Being one that was related to an evil mastermind wanting to destroy your entire world was quite another. I watched her whisper incoherently under her breath as she concentrated on the lit-up laptop screen illuminating her face. Gaze darting to my phone. In my hand, I tossed it back in my pocket and straightened out my spine. Don't worry, I whispered into the night. You're not alone in this. And it was the goddess-given truth, wasn't it? No one was alone in Orchard Hollow. Not even when one really wanted to be. So that was our first view into, well, I say first because I don't know what's going to happen later in the future in this world, but that was our view into Celia Craven's mind and how she's working. And so we can see how much she really cares for Piper, but also how she plays the middleman between Piper and Nancy Steeles and the Coven of Witches. And it also is a big deal to have this point of view because kind of towards the end, when the big battle happens, the Coven will come to help, right? And so I kind of needed to introduce that. But I haven't shared that excerpt anywhere else, and so it was fun to kind of get to read it, so hopefully you liked it. This is getting kind of long. It's a long celebration. I am clearly very excited. I am also hopped up on quite a few cold medications, so I'm going to need to go edit this video, get it uploaded. I'll link the book below if you want to go ahead and get it and read it and support me. It is on Kindle Unlimited too, so if you're on KU, it's there. And there's also paperback versions available on like all the major retailers. But for the fun part, I'll also link the rest of the series, obviously, if you want to read starting from book 1. But the giveaway. Okay, so for a chance to win this copy of the book, I just need you to comment and tell me your favorite coffee drink, because Piper owns a cafe and I love coffee. And when I'm sick, I usually drink a butt ton of it. So tell me your favorite coffee drink. If you don't drink coffee, just tell me what your alternative favorite drink is, because I know not everybody's coffee obsessed like me, and you'll get a chance to win a signed copy with a bunch of swag from me sent to you. So this will be Canada and US only, and I will also post the information and how you can win down below. It's not affiliated with YouTube. Obviously, this is all run by me, and it's just to thank you guys and to celebrate. To thank you for being here, first of all, on this channel if you are subscribed, and to celebrate the release of this book. I'm so excited. I cannot believe the series is done. And now that we're approaching almost 30 minutes of me just blabbering on, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Harry Houdini. Thanks, you too. Oh, and look, the shirt is my Harry Houdini shirt. That says cookies, and it's his little like face like right there. So I'm wearing my Harry Houdini shirt to celebrate, and I am just so excited that we are here and the series is done. And as always, I love you guys, and I hope you stay magical. And I will see you actually on Sunday again, because we're going to do a quick author chat, and then I can talk about how the release week went. I'll probably be feeling a lot better at that point, and we'll do like a proper catch up then. All right, bye.